Hi, this is Mike DelSignore, Massachusetts criminal defense attorney. In today's video, I want to talk about something that's very important, something I've thought about a lot in my career, and that is, how do you help someone deal with the stress of a criminal charge? When you're charged with a criminal offense, it's a serious offense, you feel like your life is on hold. You feel like you messed up. You feel like you've jeopardized your family relationship, your employment, and you feel like you need a second chance. And that's what you look for me to do, to get things back on track for you. But it takes time to get a case to court. So what can you do in the meantime to put yourself in a good mindset to move forward? Because for many people charged with a criminal offense, a lot of cases like first OUI or second OUI, these cases, while they're more like speed bumps, they're not going to drastically change your life. You want to win the cases, but they're not the type of cases where you can't overcome even a conviction. Now, in other words, you want to, as soon as possible, you want to start moving forward with your job, your profession. You don't want to assume that just because you're charged, you can't do anything. And that's a big assumption and mistake people make. So what do I recommend? I really recommend, and I've caught on this during my life, is I love reading success literature. It's a success book. So I recommend a book called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life by Brian Tracy. It's the top book I recommend. I recommend some others, which I'll mention at the end of the video. But this book, the key message in this book is that our thoughts control our reality. So whatever you think in your inner world becomes your outer world. So if you have positive thoughts about your future, if you have confidence in yourself, it's going to be reflected in what you produced in your job and how you carry yourself in your everyday life. I think when you read this book, it's about 300 pages. It really dives into how you can apply this philosophy throughout your life. It talks about you need control over your inner thoughts. So if some people who are charged with a criminal offense, they may feel that they grew up in a bad family situation. They may feel like maybe a spouse is to blame. He teaches that for every decision in your life, you say, I am responsible. You say that to yourself. And what it does is it gives you strength. It gives you control. Because when you blame others, what you're doing is you're shifting control to someone else, and you're sort of reliving whatever it is that led you to blame them. So if you grew up in a situation where your parents made mistakes, maybe they suffered from alcoholism, maybe they were just absentee parents, to the extent you blame them, you're kind of reliving that experience. He says, you gotta basically forgive others to liberate yourself. And I think it's a very powerful message. Certainly when you're involved in it, when you're charged with a criminal offense, you may feel like you made a mistake. You may feel some other people are responsible. Just own the decision. Now, just because you say I'm responsible for the situation I'm in, doesn't mean you can't be found not guilty. So there's a complete difference between admitting maybe there was a mistake, maybe there was a misjudgment, and being found guilty in court. In other words, the standard of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a high standard. The government's got to rule out every reasonable doubt. It's a very high standard, but in our everyday life, we don't really judge ourselves. We hold ourselves to a higher standard, so to speak, than beyond reasonable doubt. So certainly if you had a mistake of judgment, you can sort of read these books and get a different perspective on your life. And I really hope you implement some of Brian Tracy's practices and ideas. He says things like every success coach and teacher says, write down your goals. And the reason is it works. If successful people do that, successful people have top of mind what their priorities are. They're not controlled by other people's priorities. So he urges you to write out your goals. He has these pointers about having index cards where your goals are always top of mind, because his key idea is that whatever is in your mind is going to become your reality. And if you think about it, it is. Like when I think about how my career as a lawyer came about, it really, my dad really kind of emphasized these ideas. He didn't say it in the same way Brian Tracy did, but my father still is a plumber, and I'd go to work with him. He'd be down in the basement, and the beginning of the job would be, our day went like this. First, I'd kind of dread going to the job. Sometimes I'd stay in my room. I'd pretend I was sleeping because I was young. I wanted to play video games. I didn't want to go to work. It's a pain in the neck to go to work. The first part of the day, we'd get to the job. He was very kind of amped up to do the job. Inevitably, within an hour of the job, I'd hear swearing, F this, F that. And I'd be like, all right, looks like we're going to be going to the supply shop. And that's usually what happened. He's missing a supply, something happens, come back, then we kind of have our most productive part of the day till lunch. Then in the afternoon, he'd be in a better mood. He was like, and in the afternoon is really when he gave me some of the insights that kind of stuck in my mind to this day. He'd always tell me, hey, if you work hard, you can accomplish anything. And that really was my mindset always, that I control things, that no matter what happens to me, if I'm willing to work hard, if I'm willing to do whatever I need to do, that I can control my fate. And I feel, and that's what Brian Tracy says, that you got to have control over your interior, your inner monologue. And if you do that, it'll help you in your life. And I think this video, I hope, please share it with anyone that, it's not really just about someone charged with a crime. Certainly, these books, I read these books all the time. I think these ideas are critical because, just like exercise, you need to exercise every day. You kind of always need to be putting these positive thoughts in your mind to keep you in that mindset of moving forward with your goal. So Brian Tracy's book, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Highly recommend you purchase it. If you like this video, you want it, send me a message, send me a comment. I'll send you a copy. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on every social media. You can put the comments in on the YouTube video, or you can message me on Facebook. Other great books, Slight Edge is a book that I really read a bunch of times. The 5 Second Rules, a great book by Mel Robbins, and those are probably my three top books. I love listening to Tony Robbins, his energy and enthusiasm, but I suggest, if you haven't immersed yourself in what is sometimes called the success literature, Napoleon Hill, Brian Tracy, Jeff Olson, there's a lot of books out. Start listening to it. Listen to it in your car. I started listening to it on Audible. Now I find I've been buying the books, so I listen to them on Audible and read them, because I think you interpret it, you process it differently when you read it versus when you hear it in the car driving around. So I hope this helps. If anyone ever wants to talk to me about book recommendations, I love the topic. I always have a book with me. I'm a big fan of also John Maxwell, one of my favorite speakers and somebody who's very inspiring. So feel free to reach out, whether you have a criminal case, whether you want to talk about book recommendations. My number is 781-686-5924, Mike DelSignore. I'm here to help. It's never too early, too late to call. My passion in life is to help you get back on track after a criminal case. But if you don't have a criminal case and you just need help with motivation and inspiration, I would be thrilled to and honored to help share with you some of the ideas that I've learned over the years.